You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about awkward moments and familiar faces. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
After completing Horizon, we were given 3 more dossiers for new allies. We head over to Illium, which is basically just Omega, but cleaner and corporate. There's a lot to do on Illium, such as reconnecting with Liara and finding out what Conrad Werner's been up to all this time. We set out to find the Justicar Samara, who has gotten herself involved in a murder investigation linked to a fugitive she is devoted to hunting down. We investigate on her behalf and track down the name of the ship she needs, prompting Samara to join our party. Whew.
I appreciate that this continues the time-honored tradition of people needing shit from you the minute you meet them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because Samara also, and Samara's literally the person she's hunting is what you have to help her with for her loyalty mission. So, there's not even any thin veil. It's literally, oh, you help me find this thing. Great, let's go get the thing. It's just, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah. I got bogged down by a lot of stuff. Check-ins. There really aren't any because our last episode was about the Citadel and that didn't drive the story forward at all. So I had 3 that were relevant to talk about.
Same. I didn't even go to everybody. I just went to everybody that I knew would have something to say. So, of course, the first one is, we've been to the Citadel. We've finally been able to buy high-quality food ingredients. So our good friend, Mess Sergeant Gardner, is super excited.
Everybody has been suffering with terrible food this whole time.
We could have gone to the Citadel first, straight away, just gotten it out of the way, but nope.
Nope, we put it off.
Crew suffered it in silence while we continued around
They
the
were
galaxy.
Not silent about it. They always talk shit.
That's true.
But he made gumbo. Did you agree to try some?
The calamari gumbo, I did.
Yeah, I did too.
I think that I would file his comment afterwards under racist.
Definitely.
When he says, oh yeah, it's an Asari recipe, but I don't know, it feels like cannibalism to me with all those head tendrils. I'm like, dude, really?
Yeah, no.
I get that he's meant to be, a little not quite as quick on the draw as the rest of us, but still, this is just not good.
Yeah, I think everyone who works for Cerberus needs a sensitivity seminar.
For sure.
I know you're all about humanity and driving forward the cause, but you guys need to learn how to talk to other species and about other species, because come on, I cannot do this.
I mean, also, I feel this is a human problem, just in general.
Oh, yeah,
considering
definitely.
the previous game, and the fact that Cerberus only, until you came along, worked with only humans is also part of the problem.
Yeah. That's why they need a seminar to ease them into being less shitty.
Yeah, because when you restrict interaction with those things that people are prejudiced against, you will become prejudiced just by the environment. Mm-hmm. If you're really lucky, you won't, but, if you're raised in a vacuum, you're going to listen to the vacuum.
I stopped by Kasumi's.
As do I. Got the stories from all the widgets in her room, much like in Zaid's room, and then chatted with her for a bit beyond. But it's the same thing, because she was added as DLC post-launch. She cannot be interacted with directly in a conversation tree like Zaid. Instead, she will comment on things in the room once, and then you can cycle through some automated responses of her.
Yeah.
That she'll say.
At least I was interested in the things in her room. She's very much a rogue with a heart of gold. She rescued a young woman from a child trafficking ring. She's amazing. She's a really incredible person who just happens to steal things, which she steals them from museums as well, which is an institution that I have a lot of issues with. So I am very happy to have her on our side.
Yeah, I think that, I thought that Zaid's stories were interesting as well. Again, I think a lot of it is the delivery of the voice actor. However, I feel like with Kasumi, you're right. There's more interesting things to talk about here. And also, but yeah, I really enjoy Kasumi. I think she's a great member of your party, and I like her skill set, and I like her backstory. Also, I am playing for the first time in a long time with subtitles on, and so I had no idea how Keiji was spelled until now, which was pretty funny to me.
So I know that you don't drink, so you wouldn't have done this, but in Kasumi's room, there's a bar. And
yeah, I ignored it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did this before, but there's 2 bottles that you can pour from. So I poured from one and I tried that, and I poured from the other and I tried that. And then I decided to mix them together, which I didn't know that you could do until now. And I had that, and Edie was very insistent on telling me where the bathroom was. I was like, but I'm fine. So I thought she was telling me where the bathroom was for a reason, so I went to it. So I thought a scene was going to happen, and then nothing happened. I was just like, are you just trying to get me away from the bar?
Yeah, Edie is a little snarky and shady in that way, I think, in this.
Let's see.
But yeah, I didn't drink. I ignored the drinks due to the fact that I don't drink, and I'm playing the characters myself.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to drink in Mass Effect 2, I'm finding. Like, previously at Citadel and Darkstar, I got super wasted at Darkstar and, like, passed out. And when you drink on Omega, there are serious consequences there, depending on where you go. And there's so much room for alcohol abuse. So you can play your shepherd with a serious drinking problem, which I feel makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, I don't fault Shepard as a character for wanting to drink a lot. Yeah. Like, me having control over that narrative, I wouldn't drink, but, like, wanting to forget, like, it's natural to lean into alcohol and drugs. It's not an uncommon thing. And so, like, I can't fault that part of the structure of the story because it does kind of make sense.
Yeah. I wrote down Kelly, but I think there wasn't actually anything from Kelly.
No, she comments on Kasumi.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
She comments on all of the new arrivals, but that's it. There was no check-ins, no messages, no nothing.
Yeah, so really nothing major from her. And I would say that's it for check-ins. We can jump straight to Illium.
Yeah, because all the other check-ins, if you've gotten, either they don't have more to say, or the people you've gotten follow-up missions for, they only talk about that. Mm-hmm. It halts that progress.
Yeah. So Illium is a very fancy planet.
Yeah, it's big too. It gives me a sense of scope that that the Citadel used to give me. Yeah. The current Citadel in the second game is presented as ass, and so it doesn't give me that sense of awe. But Illium does. It's reminiscent of what Citadel felt like in the first game.
Mm-hmm. We meet with this kind of concierge whose name I did not write down. I'm sorry. And she gives us a lot of information, such as Liara is now an information broker who paid for our fees and everything.
Yeah, I believe the concierge's name is Concierge. I believe it.
No,
I don't believe
she has a name.
An actual name.
She has a name.
Okay. Then I just don't remember it either. But yeah, Liara foot the bill.
Her name is Karina.
Oh, Karina. All right. I wouldn't have remembered that, but thank you for finding out.
You're
People's
welcome.
names are important. Yeah, so now you have to interact with another former person that you worked with, and considering how well it went on Horizon, I was leery in character.
Yeah.
At this point, who did you bring?
Oh, I brought Garrus and Kasumi.
I brought Grunt and Jack, so we have a different team, finally. No crossover.
Yeah, Garrus's opinion of Illium, he basically compares it to Omega, and it's like, it's just as filthy and awful. And Kasumi also has a low opinion of Illium.
Yeah, Jack kind of revels in the nature of the space, and Grunt is just kind of confused by it, which he's confused by a lot of things.
That sounds right. A couple of things before we go to Liara or continue on in Illium. I'm nervous to interact with Liara because of my history with her. And I'm just like making the worst frowny face when Karina talks about indentured servitude. And I'm just like, nope, nope, don't want it. This was not a
Yeah.
good idea. I don't know why you included this plot point because it's not like a commentary on anything. You just had it to have it. Just
Yeah.
makes me mad.
That kind of stuff comes up quite a bit in this game, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm nervous to meet Liara also, even though I don't have the same kind of history with her that you did. I think I'm mostly just nervous because besides Garrus, everything else that involved me seeing people from my past has gone poorly.
Yeah.
Except for Anderson as well, but even that went not great.
It didn't go as planned. As we progress into Illium's trading floor, we meet someone who has a message for us from an old friend on Novaria.
Yeah, we meet with the Rachni Queen's envoy, who then the Rachni Queen speaks through, and tells us essentially that she is still thankful, and that when it comes time to do battle with the Reapers, if it ever comes to that, they will be in our corner. The Rachni will fight alongside us.
I want to repeat a quote because it was just so good. Our crescendo will burn the darkness clean. It was just so poetic and beautiful.
Yeah, the Rachni's language through human voice is very interesting because it is often focused on auditory and sound and, singing, because they talk about their cries, the noises they make as singing, which I think is really interesting as far as communication goes. And you, when talking to the envoy, can freak out. If you take the Paragon route, you freak out and tell them to be let free, but otherwise, which I didn't do, I
also didn't do that. I was like, "Oh, I'm really happy for you. I'm glad that you're doing all right."
Yeah, well, same. And then because I assumed, based on the conversation with the Rachni Queen we had previously, I assumed that, again, this was more of a willing symbiotic relationship and not a forced relationship.
Yeah.
And I was rewarded by that because afterwards you can ask the envoy about it, and they say that they want to be the voice of the Rachni Queen and that they work closely with the Rachni Queen and that they're happy to be there and to be able to give voice to their message, which I think is actually kind of cool as far as integrating with another species.
Yeah, I was really happy to hear about this encounter. It bolstered me. It made me feel like not everything was terrible.
Right.
And also we get some confirmation that the Rachni Queen is strongly of the opinion that the Reapers caused the Rachni War.
Yes, which, even if we believe, almost doesn't matter because people don't even believe us about the Reapers, so They're not going to believe us about this either.
It makes me feel good about it. So I'm like, yes, thank you. I appreciate your support. At least I know that the giant bugs will support me.
Well, right. Well, the complications of the Citadel's government is far from Illium at this point, so I guess we don't have to worry about it in this moment, at least.
Yeah. What were you going to say? I'm sorry. I think I cut you off.
I was just going to say from here we also reunited with another old friend.
Yes.
Gianna Parasini. Gianna Parasini.
The bad bitch herself.
And what's really funny about mine is so you went the normal route to help her to get what's-his-name arrested, correct?
Yes. I got Annaleus
I took
arrested.
the shortcut. Right. I took the shortcut to get him arrested by exposing him for something else as a Spectre and kind of ruined the investigation.
Oh.
And so when I sit down, she's a little miffed about that still. And I apologize. And she goes, it doesn't matter. We got him eventually anyway. I was still able to string him up. And you also kind of saved the galaxy. So I guess we're even, which was really very funny because I really love her personality, and that informs the kind of rapport you have with her.
I think she's brilliant. I get like a huge queer vibe from her.
Yes.
I was like, we're on a date right now. This makes me happy.
Well, yeah, I think she's definitely bi or pan because she is. She's flirty with me as well, which I'm assuming she was with you. So my guess is that she could go either way on it.
Yeah, I love everything about her. The little side mission that she kind of introduces you to help her out was
Yeah.
really cute and fun.
Yeah, it was. And what I really like about it is that you can have fun with the conversation, and whether you go Renegade or Paragon, you're kind of. So the mission is to expose a back room dealing arms dealer who's selling on Illium.
Yeah,
And
she's
you can go
stealing
about
secrets
it,
from Novaria, basically.
right? And you can go about it by either Paragon or Renegade kind of messing with her. The Paragon route is kind of a more honest, like just being emphatic about wanting to buy stuff, and then Renegade is like trying to be as shady as possible. But either way, it's a fun, quick little conversation piece that then she gets exposed and storms off, and you get the info that Gianna needed.
Yeah, I love talking to her and learning more about her. She was raised poor, and she got a scholarship to go to school with all the rich kids, and she was really good at ferreting out secrets, so that's why she got involved with a white collar investigation. And she's just such an interesting character. I'm so sad we don't get more of her.
Yeah. She's also, what's really interesting is you can talk to her about doing this job, and she pretty much says she doesn't know how Shepard can do what they do because she prefers white collar crime. It's much cleaner. There's no bodies for the most part. And where Shepard obviously sees a lot of death, and Gianna is grateful that she doesn't have to go that route.
Yeah, she says white collar crime is nice and clean, and that's why she's not a cop.
Yeah.
She's so cool.
Because you ask her about why she does what she does. And then, after you walk, as you're getting ready to walk away, she's pretty much like, maybe, when you're not saving the galaxy, we can have another chat or something. And I appreciate that. That also, even if it's just a flirty friendship, the idea that someone doesn't just want stuff from you, that they actually genuinely would want to spend time with you is kind of nice. We don't see a lot of that.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but setting up a sting operation in 5 minutes is kind of fun. So to me, I'm like, I'll do more of this.
Yeah, right? That was easy. I just had to chat this person up. I can do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I appreciate this character. I wish there was more of her in the second game. I honestly don't remember if she comes back in the third game.
I don't remember either. I feel like the answer is no, but
I do too.
We'll find
I feel
out.
like this was a one-time thing. But it was still good to interact with her. And I enjoy the non-combat missions on Illium more than I did on the Citadel because most of the stories, though short, are fleshed out.
Yeah.
I don't have questions afterwards, or they don't feel kind of empty. Whereas a lot of the stuff that we interact with on the Citadel are one-line things.
Yeah, they were so throwaway.
Presidium. Yeah.
After we help out Gianna, we can then go up to talk to Liara.
Yeah, so when I approach the room, you speak to the secretary. She sounds kind of infantilized with Liara, which I don't love, but whatever. Liara's a big shot at this point, I guess. And then you go in to talk to Liara, and for my Shepard at least, she immediately hugged me. But it didn't feel uncomfortable for me because to me it just felt like a good friend who was devastated by my death and was happy to see me.
Yeah, we kissed and it was super awkward.
Sure.
I was
Which
not
makes
okay
sense.
with it. It was horribly awkward. I was like, why? Why did this happen? Why? Ugh.
Can you comment on it or react to it?
Not really.
Okay.
You kiss, and then she says something about so it's true, you're alive, I'm happy to see you, how can I help you? I can give you some information, what do you need?
Yeah, I mean the thrust of the conversation for me was the same without a kiss, just the hug.
Yeah.
For me at least, it's like I said, it's not uncomfortable. And as my Shepherd, I'm grateful that someone is happy to see me, excited to see me. I'm a little taken aback in some of my responses to the way that she's interacting, although I do appreciate that when you enter the room, she is quoting her own mother.
Have you faced an Asari commando unit before?
few humans have, like line for line, and then turns around almost like a kid caught role playing, like embarrassed, like, oh, Shepard. Like, I do enjoy that moment. I think it's really good, and it does show growth in her character while also showing that she is not quite the Liara that we have in the third game yet. Like, there's still more growth to be had.
Yeah.
But you see it there by her being able to be threatening and menacing, and then turning around and being all flustered still. I thought was very funny.
Yeah, I felt that she's matured a lot, which is clearly seen in this brief interaction. She's not a bright-eyed grad student anymore. She's post-academic, finding out her degree won't pay the bills.
Yeah, pretty much. Boy, I can relate to that.
Yeah, right? I have a master's, and I'm possibly going to be working at a pet store.
Well, we do what we got to do to put food on the table.
Yeah. Huh. Anyway, I talked to her more about her crusade against the Shadow Broker. Because I have the DLC, I could have been like, yo, let's go after the Shadow Broker right now, but
same.
I put it off.
Yeah, same. The option was there, and I saw it, and I didn't do it because we're doing things in an order, people. Yeah. And so we're sticking to that.
Very tempted.
But it did take a lot of self-control because it is one of my favorite DLCs in the history of Mass Effect, let alone for this game specifically.
It's a super good one.
It really is.
I did agree to help her with her hacking endeavor.
Yes, so did I. Though what's interesting about it is that it is I believe it's a neutral option to agree to do it. It's a renegade option to outright refuse, which just seems odd to me. I feel like there should be more moral attachment to the hacking, but I guess not. I don't know. It's super unclear because the morals of the whole planet are backwards ass anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to help her because, whatever is between us, she's still someone that I care about, and if this will get her what she needs, then I want to be there for her. Like, I have had enough of people, like, asking me for shit just for me to, like, go about my day. It would be nice to just do something for someone just to do it. And, like, have no expectations.
And again, I think it's just interesting the morality of the quest itself. But again, if Liara is someone you trust and she needs more information to better help guide the flow of right and wrong within this space, ideally helping her will help provide good for the planet. It's just, again, hacking is not inherently considered bad in this world.
Yeah.
Whereas in our world, it sort of is.
I mean, it's also morally gray in our world, too. It depends on what you're using the hacking for.
Right. And so the moral ambiguity is just interesting. I feel like I'm noticing it more here.
Yeah. Let's talk about the other thing that you do for Liara. Did you do everything for Liara?
No, I only did the hacking. I didn't go back to her yet.
Oh, okay.
I will go back to her when we go back to the planet to get the assassin.
Okay, do you want to talk about it next time then?
Yeah, let's talk about it next time.
Okay. So let's move on to Conrad.
He wasn't there for me. No Conrad Werner because I didn't finish the story quest in the first game. For those who are maybe tuning in to this as your first episode, which would be odd, but I'll
Weird
go
flex.
with it. Is that Conrad Werner, who we all know from the first game, is a stalker-ish character who obsesses over you and you constantly talk to in the first game. If you meet him later than the first time you're on the Citadel, his actions happen after every progression of the story, and so you'll get to the last time you can go to the Citadel before the big kerfuffle, and you can't progress past that. There's no way to trigger it to finish that storyline. I think there's a grace period where you can catch up, but I missed my opportunity, so I didn't finish his storyline, and so he's just not there.
Yeah, so for me, he was there. You walked into the bar Eternity, and before you walk in, the owner of the bar is outside, and she tells you that there's an idiot trying to talk her into signing the bar over to her, to him rather. And you go up, and it's Conrad. Now, here's the thing. I resolved the Conrad Werner story with the Paragon lean. Like, I resolved it diplomatically. I told him that I needed people at home to support me, not going out trying to join the Spectres and getting themselves killed. And
Right.
he was like, yeah, you're right. Okay. And went home. I show up at this bar and I'm like, Conrad. And he's like, I learned how to shove guns into people's faces from Commander Shepard herself. And then he turns around and was like, Commander Shepard. And like, he is convinced that I was a huge jerk to him. I was like, but I super wasn't, my dude. I was very nice to you. So
Yeah, you're dealing with a person whose worldview is warped. It's apparent in the first game, and this interaction confirms it, that what you consider going about treating him well and being kind to him and trying to talk him off the ledge, he translated into, what a jerk. They don't know what they're talking about.
Well, on a meta standpoint, this is a glitch in Mass Effect
Yeah.
2. No matter what you did in Mass Effect 1, whether Paragon or Renegade, he will always think that you took the Renegade option, which is why he thinks I shoved a gun in his face, even though I super did not.
Yeah, it's I don't think they programmed a Paragon result. Or the Paragon result is he's just not there. But because they wanted to put Conrad in the second game, that's what they did. And there is no... I think it's a glitch because there's no other version. If you complete the Conrad story, this is the only result, regardless of your choice.
Yeah. John, my husband, is of the belief that he did not have the Renegade, like, outcome. So I need to talk to him about it later, because the last time we talked about it, he was like, that didn't happen to me. And I called shenanigans. So he and I have to talk. But yeah, after talking to Conrad, you find out that someone has convinced him that this bar is the front for a drug ring, and all sorts of terrible things are happening. Meanwhile, the bartender is like, that drug is legal on Illium. What the fuck are you talking about? So you go and you find out what's going on, and you talk to the woman who's trying to trick poor Conrad. And this is the way that I handled it. You could tell her to come clean, or you can tell her, no, you're going to go tell Conrad that he did a very good job and you're going to fuck right off. That's exactly what's going to happen, because he like fell for it because you took advantage of him, because he's a very gullible guy, and it's not fair for you to have behaved this way. So now you're going to go and be nice.
So which option did you choose?
That's what I did.
Oh, you did that
Like,
one.
I yelled at her. I was like, no, you're going to go, or you're going to tell him that he did a good job. And then
Who's a good boy? Who's a
boy?
good Conrad?
So I went back. I was like, good job, Conrad. Now please go home.
Yeah, please go away and stop this.
And he was like, okay, I guess because you're back.
This is not the only mission you can interact with in the bar. One that I did interact with that you had not done yet. That I think you can still do though. But there is a slave trader trying to sell a Quarian slave to a tech company. And I burst in like the Kool-Aid guy being all like, hey, this is bad and you suck. But because I also want the Quarian, like she explains the Quarian signed up for this, the Quarian has nowhere to go, hoping for money, room, and board. I go, well, fine, then I'm going to handle this my way. You sit tight and shut up. And you go talk to the rep and convince them that if they hire this Quarian, they'd be purchasing them out of slavery, and then they could, it
would be like good PR for them.
Well, right. It would be good PR for them because they could release the slave and hire them regularly, give them a big payout so they can live better, and then it'll just make the company look better if they bought this Quarian out of slavery and then kind of freed them so they weren't slaves anymore.
Yeah, I remember that. Was that Paragon?
And so that was Paragon. And
Okay.
so I convince her of this. She says the higher-ups are going to shoot a brick, but it's a great idea, and we're going to do it. And then I go back to the slaver and tell them the result, and they're like, thank you. And I say, I didn't do this for you, asshole. I did it for the Quarian.
Yeah.
And she thanks you, and the slave trader thanks you and goes, either way, this helps me, so thank you. But the whole time I'm like, this ain't for you, lady. You can fuck right off.
Keep
'Cause
your
you're
thanks. They
terrible.
mean nothing to me.
Pretty much. But this is the second time in the same game where we've had to like stand up for Quarian who are just like, bogged down by the world around them, and it's just like I get super righteous. I'm like, stop mistreating these people. Go
Well,
away.
the Quarians, Batarians, Volus, and Elcor are like the most mistreated races. You wouldn't think it from
Yes.
the Elcor, but the Elcor like get stereotyped a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So they often need people to stand up for them. Let's see. The bartender is this wonderful character who's a matriarch, and I love everything about her.
Yeah, I didn't really talk to her this time around because, again, my aversion to wanting to drink. And so I had thought that was her, but I couldn't remember. But I will probably go back to talk to her for our next episode because we'll still be on Illium.
Yeah, if anything, like she has interesting stories.
Yeah, she's really great. I also love that she's got this, breathy kind of old school, I smoke too much actress kind of voice.
Yeah.
Like just this gravelly voice that I associate with old school Hollywood that I really love.
I'm also like really sad for her because one of the reasons she's a bartender and not like a respected advisor back on Thessia is because when she tried to tell them what was going down, everybody like told her that she was crazy. So she was like,
Yeah.
you know what? Fine. I'm going to serve drinks. Like,
I don't want to be an advisor anymore.
Screw
You
you.
guys can take a hike. Yeah.
And then there's this adorable bachelor party in Eternity.
Oh, yes. So we've talked about this before on the podcast, I believe. But either way, I took screenshots of it this time, which will be on our social media at some point in the far future.
Don't at me.
Yeah, if you talk to this bachelor party like it's a group of coworkers, it's a human, a Turian, and a Solarian, and the Solarian's complaining, the human's egging them on. The Turian just wants to enjoy himself and wants everybody to shut up. But at one point, the Solarian says, well, I just can't understand, though, why humans would be attracted to Asari when they look so similar to Solarians. And then the human goes, what are you talking about? They look like humans. They have our faces. And then the Turian goes, you're both crazy. Their heads are a similar shape to ours. Like they have mandibles like we do. And it's
Head
this running
fringe.
head fringe. Yeah.
Mandibles or something else.
And it's this, right. That's the mouth things. But there's a running theory on the internet that Asari use psychic abilities to perceive and warp how you see them, and that no one really sees how they actually look. And the reason we see them as looking human is because we play a human. I do not believe it's been confirmed officially by BioWare, but it might have been. I don't recall. But it's just a really cool thing to see come up and be like, huh. Because like the human freaks out, like, what if they're mind controlling us? And the Turian's like, shut up! I just want to have a good time. You're talking to
Don't
me.
ruin Asari for me.
Right, pretty much. And I just think the whole interaction is really funny. Like typically it's a funnier way to interact with the strippers than you did in the first game. They were kind of just eye candy and pointless. Where this creates a fun interaction and something funny lore wise. It's still very male gazy, but at least this is kind of funnier. Like because we assume that the Asari are strippers because they are the fantasy of many of these races. But if they're actually using special powers to manipulate men into giving them money, essentially, I think that's very funny.
Yes. And very, very good.
There are just a few more kind of smaller missions that we can interact with as we head to where we need to go to find the Justicar. First, we head to another shop area and where the taxis are on the lower level, and there's a Krogan reciting poetry.
He's so sweet and wholesome. I love him. Blue rose of Illium.
It cycles and cycles, and you go to one of the shops and talk to the shop owner who is like hiding under her hand, face palming, and apparently she was dating this Krogan and they recently broke up, and now he wants her back and is reciting poetry.
I have the full poem.
Oh, good, excellent.
Oh, blue rose of Illium, let your roots dig deep into the hot soil of Tuchanka. Let our scorching sun and sheeting rain turn your supple beauty into strength. For if our love is to survive, it must grow thorns to pierce the hand of any that would uproot it. Blue rose of Illium, you have blossomed in a tower of glass and plastic, but beauty under glass is untested and weak. Where are your honored dead to fertilize the ground that you might grow strong? On the rocky plains of Tuchanka, I will build you a garden from the bones of my ancestors. Blue rose of Illium, leave eternity unembraced and grapple in the glorious struggle that is us, here and now. I am speechless, not with blood rage, but with love, and I stand here, humble and mute, to offer you a home. Come to me, blue rose of Illium. Let our 3 hearts beat as 2.
It's really beautiful.
That's really good!
So the story is that they were dating, and this Krogan would like to have children with the Asari, which apparently is possible.
Well, yeah, because all Asari do is they randomize the genetic information, and any Asari child will be full Asari, just with random genetic information drawn from a different species parent.
And so the Asari was afraid that he just wanted to make babies, that he didn't really love her, and like she really cared for him, but didn't want to just be a vessel for children.
Right, which is a completely valid stance.
Absolutely. And I think actually the way the game handles it is really good. But in talking to her, you can tell that she cares a lot, and that he cares a lot too, as he will not shut up and keeps reciting poetry on loop. And so you can chat with her, and the Paragon route is to convince her, well, is not to convince her to be with him, but to say, hey, look, you're clearly thinking about it. You clearly know the kind of person he is. If you didn't want to be with him, you would have shut this down already. But the reality is you haven't. So maybe you should talk to him.
Yeah, either you trust him and you believe what he says, or you don't, and you've already made up your mind.
Right. And I assume we both took the Paragon route as usual.
Yes, I wanted to be like, girl, he has a steady job. He clearly adores you. He's reciting you beautiful poetry. Like, that is a catch.
Yeah, especially a Krogan, because Krogan typically are more aggressive and less artistic, just on the scale of
that's a
the Krogan we've met, at least. But although, now that I think about that, saying that aloud is kind of a sweeping racist statement, so maybe we'll redact that. No, I'll sit with it because I said it. But that's not necessarily true. But either way, this Krogan seems to really care about her, and so I feel like why wouldn't you want to be with him? And so she gives you a discount for your help, and then goes to talk to him, and they vanish into thin air. That's the only thing that bugs me about this mission, is that like literally the minute the conversation's over, they're gone, and I'm like, could we at least have a graphic of them walking away or something? And it's not magic. Like,
I didn't even notice, because after she walked away, I was like, ooh, sale.
Right. Yeah, of course. Where you can buy a very expensive fish or some model ships, I believe, at that kiosk.
It wasn't that expensive. It was on sale.
I had already spent my money on biotic implants and some other mods, which I still didn't have enough money for everything. I don't have enough money.
Yeah,
I need to do more side missions. But we're not talking about them yet.
I mean, you can go ahead and do them and just make notes about them.
Yeah, but that requires me taking notes.
Crazy concept.
Anyway, the other thing we get to do on this platform level is talk to the representative from Zeus Host, who was originally in control by the Thorian, who you freed and agreed to help them rebuild, is now here continuing to fight for Zeus Hope.
Sorry, I got distracted because we got a recommendation on Facebook. Yeah, you can talk to Shiala, who is green, even though she's supposed to be blue. And she lets you know that all of the citizens of Zeus Hope are dealing with some after medical issues as a result of the Thorian, including her. And they signed up for some medical testing, but the contract that they signed basically allows the testers to like do invasive tests whenever they want without anyone's consent. Like, they could just do it. And you can offer to help and talk to the woman who wrote up the contracts and try and convince her, like, hey, this is maybe kind of fucked up. Would you like to reconsider?
Yeah, this is interesting for a lot of reasons. First of all, the green skin thing you can actually ask her about because she was blue when she came out, and she's like, "Yeah, this is one of those nasty side effects I was telling you about. I am green now, like this is a thing." But yeah, the representative, when you go talk to her, essentially the Paragon route is so when you talk to her, she gets angry immediately.
Of
She's
course.
clearly has some racist tendencies. She's very aggressive towards humans, which honestly in this galaxy makes total sense because a lot of humans suck, as we found out. But she's just very aggressive and, seemingly for no reason other than they're all terrible. I hate them. This is what happens. But as you dig deeper, you find out that she's lost family members and that her hatred is coming from a place of suffering and sadness.
Yeah, it's
And when you
coming from
break
grief.
as the Paragon route, you can break down those walls and get her to turn around on the contract.
Yeah, and we find out actually we've met her daughters.
Really?
Yeah, the embassy secretary in Mass Effect 1
Oh, yes, of
and
course.
Shaira's greeter, the consort's greeter.
Oh, I'd never made that connection before.
Yeah, those were her daughters. And they were so lovely and friendly, and they were doing what they loved, and they died during the Sovereign attack.
Yeah, and knowing that that's why she's hurting, the Paragon response is essentially, well, would they be okay with what you're doing? Because they sound like really sweet, awesome people, and this is not sweet and awesome. And she breaks down, collapses to the floor actually, and then gets up and says, you're right. I'll send new contracts. This is not what they would want.
Yeah. I've written a lot of quotes for this section. She says, "There's enough grief in this galaxy. I don't need to add to it."
Yeah.
It's such a good quote.
It's such a good quote. I think the reason Illium feels fuller than the Citadel is because all of the interactions you have come with a ton of great dialogue and a ton of great characters. Like all of the characters on Illium just feel like fuller, fleshed out characters, not caricatures.
Yeah. And then afterwards, we can talk to Shiala, who is very excited because she got the new contracts and everything's going to be fine. And she says, "Is this the way it's always going to be? Yesterday's problems lingering in some new form." And then there's an awkward flirt, and I love it.
Yeah, me too. I think that, and she does the awkward flirt with me as well, which I think is really funny because this is another character like Parasini, who clearly there's more to them, though I don't know that we see her again either.
I don't think we do.
But that said, it's just here is the first time we got a meaty amount of things to happen that are the result of what we did in Mass Effect 1. And for any shepherd that's feeling kind of leery or lost, this is definitely a great way to strengthen our resolve because it shows that what we did matters.
Yeah, we have a couple of situations that make us feel like, okay, we did a good. We did a good.
Exactly. We did do a good.
All right, let's move on. Now we can finally talk about Samara.
Yes. So the Justicar mission has you flying to another section of
It's like a warehouse
Illium.
district.
Yeah, where there's a police station, and you land to witness the captain of the police station reading the Miranda rights, essentially, to a Volus who is clearly a seedy person, and they're having at it because the Volus's business partner, has been murdered, and it is unclear who has done it at that point.
Yeah. So far, things that we find out. I just want to say this one thing before I get into it, because if I don't read this note, I'll be mad at myself. CSI Illium. Anyway, Justicar's embodied. I'm sorry.
You're not.
Sorry.
You're not. I feel like Rob will appreciate that the most.
Justicar's embody Asari's highest laws. They're like monks and samurai. merged into one.
Yeah.
I like love the idea of them because it's like I'm a huge Tamara Pierce fan, and Tamara Pierce writes a lot about women taking charge and doing the right thing. And one of her main series is about a lady knight who is the first female knight in like hundreds of years. And I like love this idea of a strong woman like going across the galaxy righting wrongs. It's very romantic.
Yeah, I think Samara's a cool character too. She's interesting too in the way that she's portrayed, which we'll get to in a moment. But essentially, we go to talk to this captain who I love this captain. She's so
cool.
deadpan. She has no time for anything and cannot be bothered. But when you show up and say that you might be able to get the Justicar off her hand, she's like, oh my God, please do it. Get rid of her. I don't want to arrest her because she'll kill me.
Right. And her superiors want Samara detained because they're afraid that she's going to cause an incident because she's very like strict to her code, and like other species may not understand that. So if she were to kill an Asari because they broke the code, other Asari would be like, cool, I get it. But if she were to kill a Volus because they broke the code, the other Volus may not understand as readily.
And we also we're not quite sure who her higher ups are, what race they are, too, which
probably Asari because Illium is an Asari planet.
Oh, okay.
It's
That's
not
probably true
in
then.
Asari space, but it's like their planet.
Right. But yeah, and so the progress of this is you go exploring the crime scene.
Wait, before we explore the crime scene, I have to quote this. Shepard can say to Officer Dara, I think her name is, I could be wrong, but they say to the officer, like, that's a stupid order and you have every right to disobey.
Oh, yes. And then your crewmates comment on that. I had Jack, who immediately went, oh, that's good to know. Hey, Grunt, remind me of this the next time Shepard asks us to do anything.
So I had Garrus and Kasumi. Garrus said, we can disobey suicidal orders? Why wasn't I told? Kasumi says, that's about twice a day.
Yeah, Grunt goes, these missions require bigger decisions or something. Like, Grunt is very uniform about it, but Jack's pretty much like, oh, hey, asshole, I didn't know that. I'm going to start disobeying you, which is just my favorite thing. You know, it's not what she says, but that's essentially what she says.
Yeah. And, like, Shepard's right. Shepard isn't stupid about it. She doesn't ask people to do things that they're not ready to do. Whereas asking this officer to detain a Justicar whose moral code states that she must kill anyone who stands in her way, like kills anyone who obstructs her justice, that is a suicidal order that doesn't necessarily need to be obeyed. Right.
Yeah. Essentially, our Shepards are like, we have to do this. No one else will. This is different. Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite interactions, and there are quite a few of those in the game. Where like your crew responds like, "Oh, is that so?" Mm-hmm. And I appreciate them every time they happen.
So then we can go on and investigate the crime scene to try and find Samara.
Yep, and you encounter Samara whooping butt, trying to get information out of is this the Eclipse? Eclipse is this?
Yes, it's the
gang.
Eclipse
Yeah,
sisters.
I thought so. The Eclipse sisters, right? And so, yay, another gang owning another planet. Shocker.
Yeah.
One thing I love about Samara is the way she moves. She moves with such purpose. It's so graceful and gorgeous to watch. Also, I don't know about you, but I am in a primal way very attracted to Samara's design.
So here's the thing. I think Samara is drop dead gorgeous. Like when she crushes that merc's throat, I was just like, I'm having so many feelings. But here's my problem with Samara. She's like so hypersexualized.
Yes.
And I'm just like, is this super necessary? She could be really sexy without this plunging neckline. Like, it doesn't really add anything to her character or her design. Like, it's not a protective armor. Like, I don't understand why.
Yeah, that's essentially my issue too. Like, I think she's stunning, but the fact that she's designed unlike any other Asari you've ever met or ever will meet. No other Asari has a chest designed that way, wears armor that way with a plunging neckline. Like,
Yeah.
none of that. And so I do get though that the Justicars and the Ardakyachi are both members of the society of Asari that are like, they interact with people and they try and manipulate people and they use their bodies to do that, and I get that. But
Well, the
like,
Justicar is not so much.
right? Not, but also I think part of it is like, as we'll find out later, Samara has a twin, and so the design
No,
had
she
to be the
doesn't.
same. I thought
No.
that was her sister that you're chasing.
Her well, spoilers, but no.
Oh, then I got that part wrong. Either way,
Super wrong. Don't listen to anything Matt says.
don't listen to anything I said. I clearly don't remember this game as much as I thought. But my point is that, like, I understand why they would want to do this, but because they don't even give us a story reason as to why, it just seems bizarre. And even then, it would be thin at best. You know, she's just over sexualized for the sake of it, and it does seem odd considering the way we've seen all other Asari up until this point.
I feel like it just takes away from her face, which is so eerily beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, she looks like the goddess that the Asari all swear by.
Yeah.
Like, when they say, by the goddess, this is her.
Yes.
Found her.
Yeah. But that said, I do like her character. I do love the way that she carries herself. I do like that she's essentially a space paladin,
Yes.
citing rhetoric and like talking about the good of all and following the rules and following their code. Like, I like paladins in D&D and fantasy, and so this is essentially a space paladin, which was pretty cool.
After we talk to Samara, we tell her, like, we'd like to recruit you, and Samara says, well, I have my own mission, which is a little important, so I can't really go with you.
And of course, Shepard, the smart person they are, goes, well, what if I did your mission? Then you'd have to leave with me, right? Because, then I'd have done you one solid. And Samara essentially goes, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. You could help me out, and then I wouldn't have to be involved.
And also, she wouldn't have to kill that nice officer.
Yeah, and then at this point, the captain rolls in and is like, well, I still have to detain you. And she's like, sure, you can detain me for 24 hours. And she's like, well, I can't let you go that soon. She's like,
and
oh, well, then I'll have to kill
steps
you.
In. Yeah. After that exchange, we head out and we can talk to Pitney 4 because, of course, he's at the center of everything.
Of course.
He was the Volus that we saw getting interrogated when we first walked in.
And so we are actually able to pull info out of him as we find out he is responsible for some of this stuff. And he cloned a key card of the Eclipse before giving it back, which he gives you so you have access to their hideout.
Yeah, I totally threatened him because I was just at the end of my rope. I was like, I don't give a shit. Give me what I want.
Yeah, I buttered him up. I'm like, look, this is bad for business. If you don't, you could be killed, or if people find out. Spoiler alert, I totally turned him in at the end anyway, but I just wanted to butter him up so he'd have no clue what was going to hit him in the face.
Let's see.
And then from there, it's battles and some discovery. You meet a recruit who I'm curious to hear how your exchange goes.
Okay.
So it's someone who swears they weren't firing at you. They just got recruited into the Eclipse, and they say that that they don't really want to fight. It's not what they thought. And they go to pull their gun on you, and you can pull your gun on them and shoot them.
Okay, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So, when you make your way through this warehouse, you come upon a room where you hear somebody inside saying, oh God, why me, why me? Her name is Elnora. When you walk in,
yes,
that's where the trigger happens, like as soon as you walk in.
Right.
So you can like pull the trigger and I guess shoot her. I don't know. I didn't do it
Me
because
neither.
I didn't feel like I should. So I didn't do it. And I like talked to her and found out that she was like, "Oh no, I was just pretending to shoot." Blah blah blah. So I was like, "Okay, leave." Because I'm not going to shoot a person who's like put their gun down and is unarmed. Like I'm not going to do
Yeah,
that.
I felt that same way, and so I let her go, but said if I ever see you even as much as jaywalking, you're done.
Yeah.
Um,
But you
which
find
I
out that
appreciate.
she was the murderer the whole time.
Yeah, you find an audio log later through in the base where she's the one who shot the Volus's partner and reveled in it. And at that point, Jack is like, "You idiot! You should have killed her. She's terrible. I
Eh,
would have shot her."
Jack would shoot anyone.
I know that is also true. Um, but yeah, as far as the meat of this part of it, it's just, a lot of combat. I think that the design of this area that you fight through is really interesting. There's a chemical that enhances biotics, but if you're standing it too
Red
long,
sand.
it starts to hurt you. And you can use it to take out enemies, and you can also use it to temporarily boost your biotics, which I thought was a really cool combat mechanic.
I felt that the combat was really urgent right up until the gunship, which I took out with 2 shots.
Yeah, the gunship, I just used my arc gun and just zapped it to death.
I think that arc gun might be too overpowered.
It is definitely too overpowered in my experience, which is why I rarely use it.
Yeah, I rarely use it too, but
Yeah.
it just
The only other major story thing that happens is you do encounter a Volus on your way to the final boss.
Hi, I love you. I was saying something.
What were you saying?
I was about to say that the gunship fight being so short broke the urgent flow up until that point. Like every moment from the second you took the elevator was like fight, 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 fight. Interesting scene with Elnora, fight, 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 and then gunship so short, like it's over, and you're just like, okay, anticlimactic. And then there's really not much fighting after that gunship. Then you meet the little Volus.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. We are
okay.
recording remotely, so we sometimes can't hear each other. Yeah, I forgot about that, but you're right. It was absolutely like that. Also, like, that gunship fight sucks if you don't take it out quick because all of the cover is breakable. It's terrible.
Yeah, because it's all red sand.
Yeah, it's just terrible. But that said, it is not a difficult fight. And yes, now our Volus friend. So you encounter a Volus who believes he is a biotic god when clearly he is just on some kind of drug, or the chemical that you've been encountering has gone to his head to a permanent brain damage place.
His name is Niftu Cal.
Yeah, and
What a great
this
name.
interaction is amazing because you and your squad mates are literally just standing there the whole time, gawking. Like, you're just in awe of how dumb and seemingly drunk this Volus is. And then, as the interaction goes, he's like, but no one will expect that I'm so powerful. I'm going to show the Eclipse Sisters what I'm all about. And you can
I'll
either
toss
stop.
Wasea about like a rag doll.
I'm so glad that you have quotes. And so you can either in this moment do the Paragon action of stopping him, or the Renegade action of saying after you. And so I did the Renegade action of after you.
Oh no!
And so
Why?
and so he leaves, he goes into the other room, and the minute he's out of earshot, Jack goes, "That was mean, but really funny."
That was mean. I knocked him down, so he was like, wait, what just happened? I need a nap. I'll destroy the universe later.
Yeah, I let him go into the other room. Which, like, yes, it was mean, but also I had had enough at this point. I was burned out. I was tired. I wanted to be done with all this nonsense, and so I just didn't have the patience. Also, Jack's reaction was priceless. So when you go into the next room, I get a specific cutscene where he goes in first, throws the tiniest pole bolt ever that doesn't even affect the boss. Then she throws one back, and he goes flying into a bunch of crates, never to be seen again.
Oh, that poor Volus. I'm so sad. Especially because I believe that Pitney, like, gave him to Wasea.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that he basically sold him to Wasea.
Yeah. But I mean, it does, like, he goes flying into a bunch of crates. It doesn't look like he's killed by it. I think he's just knocked unconscious. But it was pretty funny. And then it jumps to the actual cutscene that both of us got, which is her talking about, you know, being more trouble than it's worth, and being satisfied in killing us, and then picks up one of the chemical crates and flings it at us, which I wish I could do.
I have to say, Wasea's aesthetic is so on point. I loved everything about her.
She looks awesome. She's wearing like full body armor. It's designed in a way that doesn't look like the rest of the Eclipse armor. She essentially looks like something Shepard would have been wearing in the first game.
Yeah, it's kind of like neat. A bluish purple armor, and she has this bright orange face paint on. I'm just like, oh, you're so cool.
And like her tone is like, ugh, I have to deal with this. Fine.
It was an easy fight for me, though.
Yeah, for me, I struggled a little. I died once just because I got pinned by some of the extra troops, and rockets stun you in a way that you can't react to. So I got pinned down, but after the second try, I was fine. It's a good fight, though. It's a good space to fight in. Yeah. I like the fight. I was able to utilize a lot of my biotics, including my charge, which I enjoy doing. That's something I haven't mentioned earlier. The fact that there were so many mechs in parts of this allowed me to charge in and watch robot parts fly, and it's my favorite thing.
Oh, jeez. So I found out. So I completed the fight like fairly quickly, and then I searched the room, and I had this moment of like, is that it? Why is there nothing else in this room? And my husband had just come home, and he was like, oh, because you finished the fight so fast, she didn't have a chance to raise up the back portion of the room to give you access to that, where there's like more shit to fight. But you killed her before she could do that.
Oh yeah, I did too. I didn't even see that happen either.
Like, there's a whole back section of the room that if the fight goes on long enough, she lifts these crates, and I think there's like a mech back there, like a big one.
Huh. Yeah, I don't think I've ever encountered that ever.
Yeah, I just killed her too fast. I was too efficient.
How dare you?
How dare I? And we find out the name of the ship, and we also find out a little bit about the Ardat Yakshi, which translates to Demon of the Night Winds.
Yeah, scary stuff. Definitely sounds like the kind of thing a paladin of space would be fighting.
Yes. Well, we'll find out.
Right. And then you get to take Samara with you. You get to go back to
before that
to the police station.
Yeah, when you get back to the police station, I thought you were going to say you go back to the Normandy. I was going to be like, no, don't jump there yet. Because some mystical Asari bullshit takes place.
Yeah, it was interesting. So essentially, Samara says that she has to adjust her code. Otherwise, she doesn't want to have to... She wants to be in line with Shepard. If she doesn't adjust her code, she may be forced to kill Shepard going against the code.
Yeah, so she gets down on one knee, and then she like has this biotic surge as she recites this like vow to Shepard to make Shepard's code her code. And it's very ceremonial. It's clearly important, but also Asari are witches.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
You cannot tell me otherwise.
And also what's really great is that not only has the captain has great respect for Samara, but not only does she thank her for being there and being in her presence, but then also for getting to witness that ceremony happen.
Yeah.
And then after that, you can continue talking to the head of the police station and turn in the Volus with proof that he's doing bad shit. And
Elnora.
And Elnora as well. And she says that, you know, it's a shame that you didn't stop her, but I'll get her.
Yeah. That's fine. I believe in her. She's great.
She is. I'm sad that we never see this Asari again because she's actually really great.
I wonder if there's any fic about her. Gonna have to find out. Yeah, and then we head back to the Normandy, and Jacob's like, "Where can we put you?"
Yeah. Sort of like, hey, we're running out of room for this ragtag crew of people. But Samara asks to be somewhere where she can observe space and kind of be a little more quiet.
A room that looks out on the great empty void would be most comforting.
And then she's like, and so Jacob suggests the place, and then she goes, great, I must meditate on today's events. And I'm like, okay.
All right, then.
You do you.
So yeah, that was the Justicar. Like, that was so much stuff, but it was mostly because it was our first visit to Illium.
Yes, and when I was landing, though, I had forgotten how many missions actually start on Illium. There's quite a few, including some DLC. But yeah, it was... Illium felt like the first meaty social area, you know, whereas we'd been going to planets for one-off missions. This is a hub that also had a mission that felt, you know, meaty. Again, though, it sucks that once you leave the area where that police captain is, you can never go back because it's a mission area, and it's a bummer because, again, I'd like to possibly interact with those people again, and that's it. You're done.
No more. Let's see. Let's head over to Fandom Corner. So today on Fandom Corner, we're going to talk about another Mass Effect play-along podcast called Normandy FM. They're one of our pod friends, and hopefully we'll be teaming up for an episode soon. We have to get that sorted out. Normandy FM. Eric Van Allen and Kenneth Shepard come together for a multi-part Mass Effect retrospective. Normandy FM goes mission by mission through the Mass Effect series, discussing the decisions and characters of BioWare's science fiction universe. So if you want more perspectives on Mass Effect, check out Normandy FM. They are at Normandy FM Show on Twitter, and you can find them on any podcatcher.
Yes, I've been listening to them. I'm up to episode 3. I'm really enjoying it. I'm taking it slow because it's nice to actually enjoy a podcast without my annoying voice on it that has to do with Mass Effect. They're doing some things differently, so if you're worried about it being more of the same, they are not making choices in the same way we are. They are not putting themselves in the shoes of Shepard. I believe even one of them is playing Fem Shep due to their preference, a thing that I would normally do. But they are... but they are analyzing things in a similar way that we are, in the fact that they are getting very granular. But I feel like they're talking a lot about things that we either missed or that we didn't think of or that we talked about in a different way. They are calling out bullshit as they see it like we are, which I appreciate as well. But it's a really great listen. If you're looking for another play-along podcast or just know the series as well as we do because we're all big Mass Effect nerds, I highly recommend checking it out because... it's great conversation. I really dig it.
Yeah, one of their episode titles stood out to me, which I really liked. I have to find it real quick. Oh, there was episode 16, but her emails. Made me laugh really hard.
I saw that too. I'm curious to see what that's about when we get to it.
There was another one that made me laugh. Oh no, it was a description of the Eden Prime episode. Welcome to Normandy FM, where Eric Van Allen and Kenneth Shepard revisit the Mass Effect series. In the first episode, the two discuss Eden Prime, the questionable decisions of a renegade player, and ask, what is Mass Effect's problem with gay men? I'd love to know.
Yep.
Mass Effect, what is your problem with gay men? Because you seem to have one.
I would like to know as well.
So, that being said, check out Normandy FM. We have a review that came in while we were recording, so that was good timing. So Trenton James recommended us on Facebook and said, I'm currently doing a full playthrough of Mass Effect Trilogy, so of course I had to find the podcast that is also doing the same thing. I never completed any of the games before, so hearing the different experiences from each Shepard is pretty cool. I appreciate the introspective nature of each decision in the game and how the game touches on many real-life issues. Enjoy playing along as well. So yay, Trenton, thank you so much for recommending us. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Trenton. We appreciate it. If you, too, would like to have your review read on this very show, please recommend us on Facebook, on our page, or write us a review on your podcast app on your iPhone or whatever podcast app you have on any phone. All of those reviews help us to get more visibility, grow this community, and we'd just like to hear from you. At the end of the day, we'd probably still be doing this even if no one was listening, but it's nice to know people are.
Let's see. So yeah, we have no other emails or reviews, but if we get any next time, we'll definitely read them out. And that's it. Next episode, we're going to be doing The Assassin with special guest Abu Zafar of Lore Party. I guested on one of their episodes a while back talking about romance in Mass Effect. So I'm really excited to have Abu on. He's really cool.
Yeah, I really loved that episode of Lore Party. I've been listening to Lore Party since. I'm a little bummed that I've thrown several ideas at Abu, and all of them have either been done before to some degree, and it's because I've not listened to their backlog, because it's a long backlog.
Yeah, they have a huge history.
But he's pretty much like, we'd love to have you on, just not for that thing, because we kind of did it already. I was like, so.
Oh, no.
So we'll see. I'm definitely trying to think of other stuff, but it's a really great podcast. If you like thinking about your games besides just playing them, what goes on in those worlds and how it can compare to our actual real world and the things that we think about all the time, it's definitely worth listening to. Their episode on Garrus is really good as well, which is called Space Batman.
Which was also featured on one of our fandom corners.
Correct.
Yes, we talked about it. Okay. If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We are at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook.com/ReignitePod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. Please.
You can. Oh, sorry, stepped on your line.
You can go ahead.
Please rate, review, and subscribe. All of it helps us to gain visibility, as I said earlier. You can find us on any one of your favorite podcatchers. It, again, helps us to get seen and grow this community we love.
If you want more of me or more of Matt, we have some personal projects that we'd like to plug. I just launched my Circle of Friendship podcast, which is dedicated to the Circle of Magic books by Tamara Pierce. That came out on 7/8, and we are releasing on a fortnightly schedule every other Monday. And the Rob Thomas, no, not that one, Robcast launches on 7/16, also a fortnightly schedule where we talk about everything that Rob Thomas, the show creator, has made.
Yeah, not that other Rob Thomas who's in that famous music band.
Yes, no, not that one.
Music band? What the fuck does music band mean? And now I have to leave that in. We are also members of the Certain Point of View Network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, including other projects I work on. I have 2 other shows on the network, Screen Snark, which I do with Rachel Shank every other Monday, and we talk about all streamable media at this point. It started out just being about movies, but we've been talking about TV and documentaries as well, and we always have a guest to bring their perspective. Our most recent episode that just went up this Monday is with Chef Nate Ketron, who is a chef, a blogger, and just a really fascinating and charming dude. My other podcast is with the incredible Jeff Moonen. It's called Fun and Games. If you like this podcast about this video game, you might also like that podcast because it's more generally about video games. We talk about tropes in the industry, news events, things that we'd like to see different, or just an entire series of one kind of game if we decide, because it's our show and we'll do what we want. You can join our Discord server, which is where a lot of chatting goes on about all of the podcasts that I do on the network, as well as this one. The link to it is on certainpov.com. We'd love for you to join the conversation.
Thank you to Christina Spinks for our latest It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble, featuring our favorite marshmallow, Kaden Nolenko. You can find more of her work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram, or commission her by emailing c.spinks.animator, Spinks spelled Spinks, at gmail.com. We'd also like to thank David Boyle for designing our logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble, and Dan Bull for letting us use the Mass Effect rap for our theme music. Reminder that we are doing The Assassin next time with Abu Zafar of Lore Party. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
We should go.
And we should go.
It's a little slow.
You're listening to Reignite. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Hey Nerferders, my name is Case Aiken, and for over 2 years I've hosted my show, Another Pass, where I sit down with interesting guests to talk about movies that we find fascinating but flawed. Good movies, bad movies, doesn't matter. We find ways that they could have been improved. So if you ever thought that a sequel dropped the ball by forgetting about a plotline, that an epic could have been saved by introducing the director to an editor, or that a comedy didn't work hard enough to have some substance behind the laughs, then check out Another Pass podcast at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.